Hello, everyone, and welcome to another informative episode of the Florida Business Forum podcast. Let's open the Florida Business Forum floodgates and let the information begin to flow. Here's your Florida Business Forum information guru and anchorman, Sam Yates. I think the last time I was in your studio, you may have been working, at that time you were working on with the clay, and I believe it may have been the Florida Panther. But you have touched so many different species. Is there any one that just jumps out as your favorite?
That's a tough question. Which of your children do you love the most? Right? It's tough. I love a challenge. I love to learn. I love to educate people and help them understand what I think is important about an animal or an environment. And so it varies. The Florida Panther, that's a species in Florida that's in peril due to our increased population and mostly traffic from cars. But to get people to learn more about the panther is very important to me. That project I was working on, a whole group of panthers, life in a half scale, fabulous project, and it was a private commission. And but I'm hoping to place some of those pieces in public areas where we can get more interaction and awareness for the panther.
Now, I know that I'll come back to a couple more, but back at the beginning of the program, I had referenced that you had received some recognition, and I'm going to pull up the news release here, the media release, and read a little bit from it. It's from the Florida Fish and Wildlife Commission. Let me see if I can get the correct wording on it. Nature's favorite artist, Geoffrey C. Smith, a renowned leader in the world of sculpture, has been honored for the second time by Florida's Fish and Wildlife Foundation. Excellence in capturing the beauty of Florida's wildlife and an appreciation for outstanding artistic contributions to Florida's wildlife resources. He is an active, outspoken advocate for environmental protection and conservation. His passion for preserving the natural world is deeply ingrained in his artistic journey. As you were quoted, "I harness my experiences in nature to create art that serves as a bridge connecting beauty of the natural world with our need to conserve and protect it." And I think that really is a good reflection of the foundation that you have started.
Yes. Now, thank you. That was all beautiful. The Fish and Wildlife Foundation, for years, they've used my sculptures for awards, thank you gifts for people, over the last 20 something years. We've done a lot to help them and help them raise money. And they're a wonderful organization as far as trying to protect the environment and us and our interaction. I mean, Florida is a sport fishing capital of the world, not just sailfish, but everything. And so I've been, so I think 2006, they gave me an award. And then at that time, they made me their official sculptor. I don't know what that means, but they gave me that title. So that was nice. And this award, I guess a few weeks ago now, very kind of them. It kind of came out of the blue, and so I was, humbled and honored, and that was a nice thing.
Your sculpture isn't just limited to animals. There's a little bit of flora mixed in there as well, and one that comes to mind is the lotus, and it's beautiful. I'm also enthralled by the lotus, and that particular flower goes back as a favorite for centuries. But the lotus sculpture that you did ended up at the Vatican. Tell us that story.
Well, it'll be a short story. I've done a number of lotus flowers that were in fountains, mostly down in Palm Beach. And then also as a beautiful sculpture, the entrance to Martin Memorial, which is now Cleveland Clinic out at Traditions. When you come straight in, right behind the entrance there, I think it's about 8 feet long, 9 feet long, and I've got all that lit up. It's absolutely gorgeous. But with those flowers, I made all different, and how I got into the lotus was interesting. Because I'm an opportunistic omnivore. When I'm out, I might be out looking for one thing and we come across something else, kind of the serendipity of it. And it's like, and then we dive into it. And so I was out, I don't have it anymore, but I used to have a little airboat. And we were out in Lake Okeechobee and I saw these beautiful flowers. And I hate to admit it, I didn't know what they were. So, I think back then it was probably, I'm sure it was pre-cell phone era. So I think we probably snipped a couple off and I brought a bouquet of these beautiful flowers home to my wife. And then, we look it all up and it's the lotus and, I learned all about the lotus flower. And so then, I may have been the same trip, may have been a different trip. I went out, I photographed them and then we did drawings and then I'm not sure how exactly the what started the very first sculpture, but I ended up making these sculptures, and they were quite popular. That's the origin of the lotus and the symbolism of the peace and tranquility and all the things that of coming. The lotus rises out of the swamp. It kind of out of the darkness into light, and they open up every day and then close at night, which is very, very interesting. They don't last very long as a bouquet of flowers in your house. all the petals fall off. But we did, this is going to be the short part. We did a number of sculptures for the State Department. But I had kind of strict orders that I wasn't to talk about anything. And I did I think 3 different individual sculptures that some eagles and then we used different pieces that I had that were existing. But they were diplomatic gifts that the president would give, to other, head presidents of other countries and things. But it was always a need to know basis, and they didn't feel I needed to know, and I didn't want to rock the boat. The only one, and it was a huge honor to get this, this is really exciting. The only one we got advance notice on was the gift going to the Pope. And that's where they picked this big lotus bouquet. Beautiful, beautiful sculpture. And again, I was, we had all kinds of TV crews here the next day at the studio that I could not speak to at all because they had asked me not to. My first actual confirmation that it was given to that it actually went through was my wife's ex-husband calls about 6 a.m. He's like, "Geoffrey, turn the TV on now. You won't believe it." And bam, we turned it on, and it was worldwide news. It was crazy. And then the whole media frenzy over it with like hometown boy, blah blah blah. It was wonderful, and it was great. Then Eve Samples was working for was it TC Palm, the newspaper?
Yes.
Back when people read the newspaper, so, and she wrote the most beautiful article, and that was that she said a funny thing just happened, with the president giving this gift to the Pope, that art transcends politics, because no longer were people, all the controversy with President Trump. There was no Trump bashing. There was no. It all ended. Everybody was like, "Wow, Geoffrey, this is fabulous," and it was true. It was, and she was the one that pointed it out, and it was, that was a wonderful thing to realize that art can rise above all the other people's problems, the hate and whatever that's out there. And it was very cool. And even many of our people I had friends in different countries that some of them were very anti-Trump, and they were the ones who were the most proud of me. And it was they called and congratulated, and so it was wonderful. I wish I could speak more open about it, but a deal's a deal, So.
Understand.
Yeah.
Now, you do work with the models. What happens to the models, the modelette and other items? Do you keep those, or are those in a vault somewhere because they're so precious? I would imagine they're quite precious.
Well, during the molding process, they get beat up pretty bad and cut up and all that. The clay I work with is called plastiline. It's an oil-based clay that never really dries out. And so it's heat sensitive. So what I'm working in is never a finished product. It has to be molded. That's what it's specifically, designed to be molded. So what I do is once they're molded, I get them back. They're beat up really bad. But I can sometimes clean them up a little bit. And then a lot of them we recycle, because with COVID, the clay companies have had issues and costs have gone up. And it's, I've got this big project. I was looking to order 1,000 pounds of clay here a year and a half ago or so, and I could not get it. So I was like, how do I find 1,000 pounds of clay around the studio? And, and then eventually I was able to get a few hundred pounds, and we had some sculptures back, and we were able to make things work. But I like seeing the old pieces. I can get in trouble with them sometimes because I was doing a news report with the local TV here with Megan McRoberts, and behind the studio, we have a preserve area that I've completely rewild, and the manatees were eating the salt marsh cordgrass that we planted. We planted over 400 different native species back in there, and did a huge effort. And this, I think it was 2 years ago when the manatees were starving and dying, and so they would come up and actually get up on the bank and start eating the cordgrass. And so I was really proud of this, and somehow we ended up, there was a news story about it. And I was in the studio, and I picked up one of my old clay sculptures that had been molded, and it got beat up. And so the face of this manatee was crushed. And so I didn't realize the camera was rolling. And I said, "Oh, here's a sculpture of the rare flat-nosed manatee." Well, they put that on the news. So that was pretty funny.
That is funny. That's hilarious.
And on another occasion, so different, with COVID, my foundry of 40 years went out of business. All the headwinds of COVID, and it just didn't work. And so they were shutting down, and it was the middle of winter. The foundry's up in Bozeman, Montana. And I couldn't hire anybody, so I ended up flying to Bozeman, did my first Uber, got an Uber to the U-Haul place, got this great big U-Haul truck, and then spent 2 days at the foundry loading molds into the truck. And then I made the 500+ mile drive down to Colorado, and I had over 600 molds there. I mean, a whole lifetime of work. And I left, 90% of them there. I just got a handful, less than 100 molds. And one of the molds, a couple of different molds that we tried to save, like they were like a roseate spoonbill. We got half of one roseate spoonbill mold and half of another roseate spoonbill mold. Well, those don't do me any good. And then I had a beautiful Florida Panther in a tree that was a lamb. And I only got half of that mold. And so there's no more of them. But it turned out I had the clay from that, and it was beat up really bad. And so I have it in my studio now, and I'm reworking it. It's going to be a different sculpture. So the first mold, there were 2 made, and that was the end of that. They were sold. And now I'm reworking it. So thank God I had that clay, and it, saved me some time. But that'll be a beautiful sculpture, and we'll be able to move forward with it.
Fascinating. I have to say that you and I could sit here and go on for hours, but time being as it is, my most important question of this entire interview is, can you come back for another episode?
Absolutely. Yes. That's the most important question. Yeah. Yes, that would be wonderful. And like you mentioned before, we've known each other for years. And although this is the Florida Business Forum, art kind of is at the opposite end of the bell curve from, it's about thought and emotion versus profits and production and everything. But, they sometimes get blended together and sometimes good, sometimes bad. But I love what I do, and I'm very grateful and humble that you would think to have me on your show. And I'd be happy to come back. And I know it's hard we have so many topics to discuss. It's hard to hit them all, that's for sure.
Well, I'm going to do my best to narrow it down for a couple and have you back in the future, because I really think that what you do and how you have done it and what you have done with your life makes a difference. Every piece of art that I see that you have touched makes a difference. So I want to personally thank you for doing what you do.
Well, thank you. Thank you. It's to me, it comes natural, and I don't know if we have time for one more little,
yes,
as far as touching people or things.
Yes.
Last year on January 7th, a right whale was spotted off of Hope Sound, farther south than their normal wintering grounds. And I can tell you on January 7th, I did not know hardly a thing about northern right whales. But my son was on the beach, and he's like, "Dad, there's a whale right off the beach, come on down." And so I grabbed my drone and my camera and went down to Hope Sound, and I filmed and photographed this whale. It was a female northern right whale with a calf. And through my photographs, Fish and Wildlife and the it's at the museum in
Smithsonian.
No. It's in the, but no, the one of the whale outfits up in Boston, they identified the whale as Pilgrim. And so from my photographs, and then we filmed a boat going too close to it and all this stuff. And I kept my drone way, way back because I knew with humpback whales, you need to stay back 500 feet. The rule with the right whales is 500 yards. So I may have been a little close on that, but I was still way back. And anyway, long story short, we created a beautiful sculpture of the Pilgrim and calf, and we've used it to raise a great deal of money that's going to help protect the whales. And, it's just something that I didn't know much about the day before, and now we're, learning the plight and what's going on with these whales. It's fascinating.
You are amazing. You're absolutely amazing. And we look forward to having you come back on our program here. For all of our people listening right now, you'll have to stay tuned. Geoffrey, thank you for being here on the program, and we look forward to having you back in the future.
All right, Sam, thank you very much. You have a great day. Be well, be loved. And for all your listeners, be well and be loved.
I love that too. And I am Sam Yates, your host for the Florida Business Forum. Have a great day, everybody. The Florida Business Forum is dedicated to showcasing Florida businesses and CEOs of all sorts to promote their business or not-for-profit in the only business forum of its type in Florida. Thanks for tuning in, and remember, the Florida Business Forum is now accepting guest applications. Have a great day, everyone, and stay tuned for more business.